Good morning, everyone. The joys of Zoom. Hopefully, you can see my screen share okay. I'm just going to double check everything's all running and we're up and going. Just as well, if anyone wants to drop into the chat down below, just to let us know where you're from today. And if you do have any questions, by all means, we'll have a Q&A throughout the session today. So if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to use the chat feature just on the Zoom webinar. Just to introduce myself and introduce the webinar for today. Today's webinar is on New Year, New Strategy, Planning Ahead with ChatGPT and AI. So main focus for today is going to look at how do we take your AI to the next level? How do we look at using ChatGPT and other AI services to really promote your strategy online? Now, for a lot of you who are joined this webinar, I assume you have some experience with AI, some experience with ChatGPT. And maybe it's just trying to explore a little bit more about what you can do. So really what I want to do today is try and take that to the next level, try and show you a bit more about how we are using AI for strategy and not just content creation. And again, a lot of people are using AI for creating basic content. Maybe it's blog content for their website, maybe it's for social media, and trying to come up with different plans. So what we want to try and do is use AI or try and leverage AI to create the strategy and the plan and how it can be used for various research methods too. So hopefully you'll see from here and you'll be able to see the screen okay. Again, if there's any issues, difficulty-wise, not be able to see the screen, let us know and we'll drop in, hopefully everything's sorted. So just to introduce myself, I look after the digital strategy here at Profile Tree. My main role in the business is looking for opportunities around how to implement AI into your business. How do we build your business using AI tools? And so today we're going to go through a very simple process. We're going to try and make this as practical as possible, given already the technical difficulties. I'm really hoping everything keeps working as it should. But what we're really going to focus on today is a few steps. So number one, we're going to look at prompt engineering and prompt creation. So how do you create a prompt? For those that aren't sure, what is a prompt and how do you actually define a prompt in AI? We're then going to look at using AI for keyword strategy and SEO. So we'll take a small snippet on SEO. So we do have another webinar as well on SEO in more detail, but today we'll take a small look at how you can strategize through AI. From there, we'll then take it a step further and we'll look at how you can use AI for competitor research, how you can take anything that you've kind of looking at online, your competitor analysis, your target market, take that into Google search, take that into ChatGPT, Bard, and a few other scenarios. We're then going to take that competitor research and we're then going to start looking at a AI-driven strategy. So that's simply looking at how do we take our content, how do we take our ideas, and then turn those into fruitful content to publish on our website. And before finally closing off with a customer experience, so how do we look at improving our overall experience with AI? And normally, again, everyone's looking at AI for traditional content, funnel content creation, blog creation, looking at how we can populate our own websites. So again, a big focus here is going to be looking at enhancing that customer experience. So what I want to do in trying to make this as interactive as possible, I want to try and hopefully have a few tabs or screen shares open to simply talk about some of the methods, and then we'll actually jump in to ChatGPT, to Bard, and a few other windows. I have a few things open ahead of time just in case, so we'll be able to go through those and have a look in more detail. So the first thing to get started with, we want to understand prompting or prompt engineering. When we open tools like ChatGPT and Bard, one of the things we want to be looking at here is what are we actually telling the AI to do? And you'll see here the description that we have for prompt engineering is AI interaction. How are we interacting with AI? How are we telling it exactly what we want to do? And then obviously making sure that we're getting the full potential for the responses that AI can provide. So a key look at this is looking at a framework that's been developed, and you'll see here on screen, we have an example of that framework, and it's called the RoadS framework. The example of the RoadS framework is to try and give you an understanding of how to write correctly to ChatGPT. So very quickly, if I just switch the screen share over to ChatGPT, and now for the purpose of this demonstration today, I will be using the paid version of ChatGPT. I'll be using ChatGPT 4. So just in case you're seeing or watching along some of the prompts that we're using and going, oh, whenever I do that, it cuts out or it drops out a certain amount of content. Just be cautious of that. One of the things we'd encourage you to do there is simply to check what version you're using. If you're using ChatGPT 3.5, you might get more availability and it's faster, but the problem is it might cut out or it might not give you the same responses. ChatGPT 4, then you need to be looking at the paid version. So just keep that in mind. And what we can do from there is go through. So just to put that out there in advance. So one of the things that we see most of the time when people use ChatGPT is this is the typical prompt that we all like to use. We go in 2 seconds, we say, I am creating content ideas for my website. Can you give me 10 content ideas for my website that's focused on healthy eating topics? Certainly, ChatGPT is going to come back then with a series of options. And at a glance, if you're just scanning over this, it's pretty perfect. It looks good, and you can see some of the ideas coming off with meal prep made easy, the power of plant-based dieting, seasonal eating habits, kids nutrition. It's actually done a decent job. So for quick wins or quick fixes, certainly I'd recommend every day of the week just to go in and write a quick topic or a quick prompt, which is what we've done here. We've created a prompt. Now, the challenge with this is ChatGPT, the analogy that I've seen before, it's like talking to the smartest teenager or the smartest toddler you've ever seen. They will know everything that you're going to ask them. They will know all the questions and they will tell you exactly how it's done. If you tell them that they're wrong, they will then completely believe that and say, okay, I was wrong, and they'll continue on. Think of it like looking for statistics or facts. ChatGPT has from time to time the ability to make things up and try and pretend that it's real until you tell it otherwise. So just keep that in mind. And so when we talk about prompt engineering, well, prompt engineering is effectively the technique of how do we get the best response? How do we craft ChatGPT to give us the best response? And so there's a user on Twitter, or now X, has created the Root framework to try and support with prompt engineering. What are the things you need to do? And some of these things are quite scary as well when you actually think about it and you realize what you're asking ChatGPT to do. And so on the next slide, I'll come back to this in a second. On the next slide, you'll see we have what that framework actually looks like, and we'll see if just give a wee credit to Sibo, the developer of this. But to run you through it very quickly, it's the Root framework. So we start with R. So R is the role. At this stage, we want to try and ask ChatGPT to pretend that it is playing a role, or what's the experience level that it should have to fulfill this objective. So if we look at the role first of all, so if you are wanting to write code for a project, if you're using AI to write code for a bit of development you're doing, then you want to tell it, ChatGPT, that I want you to assign the role of a developer who specializes in SEO, or I want you to be a developer who's over 15 years experience. And that role is really important. The same then could be said for the likes of pay-per-click marketing, social media strategy, content creation. Ask ChatGPT or give ChatGPT a role, and it will assume the qualities and the skills that it would traditionally expect to find online for that role. Again, it sounds ridiculous, but if you're looking for a specialist in content marketing, you will speak to a content writer, you'll speak to a copywriter, someone with some form of content writing experience. As a bonus, if they have a specialism in SEO, or if they have a specialism in travel and tourism, hospitality, financial support services, well, that's also going to be a bonus you want to try and add in. So the first thing you want to do is assign a role to ChatGPT. The second thing then is you want to assign or create an objective. So this is where everyone goes. They go straight to the objective. I want to create a blog for 1,000 words. Done. That's what you do. And you maybe say the blog is for a healthy eating website. And that's the objective done. But what I want you to think about now is creating the role first, asking ChatGPT to assign the role. You're then going to give it the goal or the objective that you want it to complete. And that might be to review the website for opportunities. It might be to create a content strategy. It might be to create a blog of 1,000 words. So a big part here is just simply looking at how you can use it to complete objectives and what you actually want it to do. Now, this again is where 9 out of 10 people start and stop. They do the objective, write exactly what they wanted to do, and then continue. And that's what you've seen before in our basic prompt example we had on the screen. If we then look at the details then, so in looking at the details, we want to look at how are we actually describing how to get the objective. And again, this is really important. And this is where I'm speaking to my clients. The big thing that we're focused on is talking about describe your business. ChatGPT does not know a thing about you. Every time you go and open that new chat, and even Bard, we're going to get into Bard 2 today as well, but the AI platforms do not know a thing about you. You need to give it a description. You need to give it that context, and context is key when it comes to AI for what you're doing. So when it comes to the detail, well, the detail should be about both you as your business. What does your business do? What do you operate in? Who's your target market? Who is this objective for? So again, if we're thinking about creating a blog content, then we need to be thinking about who's this blog for. Is it for a consumer in a B2C development? Is it for B2B? Are we trying to reach out to clients to get more leads? What is the core objective? Something just to really bring in back how you link the ROD initially. So the detail is really what you're trying to do there. You can expand on detail as well by setting some what we would call parameters or rules. So again, for a blog, you might want to say it's 1,000 words in length. You might want to ask it to include headings, lists, bullet points, FAQs. So detail can be expanded as well on the parameters or the conditions of what you want to put into that content piece. So from there, we then want to look at examples. And this is something that I would often argue can be a case-by-case basis. It's not always necessary for every prompt that you're going to do. Honestly, if you get into using the Rodez framework for every prompt that you build, it'll be fantastic results you'll get back. But this is probably the one that I would say you don't always need to do it, and it's based on a case-by-case basis as you require it. But E is examples. It's to show the AI what is the expectation, what is the outlook that you're hoping to get from that content. So the example that we'll go through today, and as I said, just in case I've got a few open on screen, is that we're going to have a look at some examples in the content creation space. We're going to have a look at the healthy eating space, just to give you a scenario to try and make this a bit more closer to home. So examples, again, are taking maybe an example competitor, whoever's number one Google at the moment, taking their content, putting that into ChatGPT, and using AI to assess the validity, how constructed is the content, the tone and structure. Likewise, you're really just trying to set the tone. You're setting the target for what you want ChatGPT or Bard to deliver. Now, the last one is a little unorthodox. I'm not sure many people actually use this, but that is sense check. Before you hit enter, and everyone does this, they ask ChatGPT to do something, and then you hit enter, and immediately ChatGPT starts coming back with all of this content. What I want you to do, though, is to try and ask ChatGPT, do you understand what I've asked of you? Or ask the AI, do you understand this task, this objective? Can you please read it back to me? And the idea here is that sometimes ChatGPT is notorious for scanning, for quickly reading over something. And there's maybe that one bullet point that you said in the middle that said something along the lines of, this niche is natural health. And if ChatGPT has missed that, then that's a key niche topic or a niche tone that it's going to miss. And it's going to maybe start talking about other non-natural health solutions or holistic therapies and things that are maybe off topic. So what I would always suggest that you do is before you hit that enter button, before you hit submit with your AI tool, is to confirm that by doing a bit of a sense check. Ask it, can you understand what I've asked you to do? And read it back to me for better understanding. Now, you can find this framework online. This is a nice wee diagram. It just talks you through that AI prompt engineering with some really good examples. Define the role, so they work in real estate. Articulate the goals, so help them understand what are we wanting to do. So we're trying to look and analyze various statistics. We then want to give it detail, so obviously specifically detail the objective, expand on it more, and include parameters for the results. How should the output look? Then you want to provide examples of what the ideal output is, what the ideal result is, before finally confirming, are you sure you understand all this? Are you happy to review? So if we take that just to a bit of an example, and as I mentioned already, we have the example of a basic prompt. Again, this is something that you are, if not already doing with ChatGPT, you do have an experiment with and try it out. But what we want to look at is the example here, where we've already set up a bit of a prompt ahead of time, and you'll see immediately you're looking at this and you're maybe going, Stephen, that's a lot of content. The last one I had to write 2 words and say what I was doing. But what you will find is in the long run, this will turn into more of a copy and paste script that you'll have saved on your computer or your clipboard. You'll use it and you'll just retitle things each time. But what you will find, though, is the response will be much more personally crafted to yourself. So in this scenario, last year, we created a website on a previous webinar on AI for development, so AI and development. And we created this website called Natura Health. Every aspect, every part of this website is developed using AI. And if you have any questions on that, more than welcome you to leave a comment down below. But we took the premise or the content of this website to the strategy. So how do we pick our strategy to 2024? And so what I went back to ChatGPT with is I said, I want you to assign the role of a senior marketing executive with over 15 years experience in digital marketing and content creation. So here you'll see I'm setting that role. I'm looking for someone who's going to be looking at content creation, clearly focused on digital, and to have that senior experience. For me, how you define the role is up to you. I want to try and define it as what I would be looking for. If I was looking for support in this field, I would want to be speaking to a marketing executive, someone who's senior, has been in the game for a while and knows a bit more about content strategy. So naturally, I want ChatGPT to assume that as well. So using that experience, and that's where I've effectively told ChatGPT, we now start the objective. Using this experience, I want to create a series of content ideas to help promote my website for increased organic traffic and lead generation. Again, the objective is important that you're saying what the outcome or the goal is, not just I want to create a blog. This is a common mistake a lot of people make, is that they're not telling ChatGPT what is the end goal. If you want to create an email campaign for 2024, well, there's a lot of opportunities for email marketing. What does that actually mean? Do you want to send out more emails? Do you want to get more people to phone you? Do you want to get more emails back? What's the objective? So it is important you give that context for ChatGPT to understand, right? The goal is increased traffic, it's increased lead generation. So ChatGPT should be thinking about things like SEO, content delivery, content structure. When it talks about lead generation, we're thinking about calls to action. How is that content all going to form together? So it's really important that we set, first of all, that role and objective as precisely and clearly as possible. From there, then, we're going to start to apply that level of detail. Now, again, this is where I would always say I would have my personal detail copied and pasted or ready to go. So if I'm a business, and again, I'm working in the financial, I'm working in the sales, e-commerce, I will have some level of context copied, saved to a clipboard, saved to a notepad on my desktop, and I can go and copy that. And this is simply going to be your elevator pitch for your business. So in this scenario, we've given that detail. So we've said, my website's called Natura Health. It's a family-focused blog website that uses affiliate links and hopefully in the future, some form of paid advertising to generate income. The niche targets around natural health and therefore content should try and stay within this niche with a target market of young families, primarily focused on women between 21 and 35. So at this stage, I'm effectively just trying to tell ChatGPT a wee bit about my business model, a wee bit about what I'm actually trying to do. I've given it the target again for this is how I'm generating income at the moment. I'm using affiliate links. I want you to be aware of that because when it comes later to creating content, this is something I want to try and remind you about. And of course, when it comes to the target market, well, I'm naturally trying to consider what does the space look like. From there, then, I wanted to look at some form of content creation. So for my website particularly, I wanted to look along the lines of healthy meal planning, meal prep, something that can kind of give me quick meals for the week that I can then post on my blog and share with my audience. So at this stage, I found an article online and it was all around healthy eating. I can't remember the source initially at the time, but it was really just about healthy family dinners, probably one of the first searches that come up in Google. And all I did was I took a copy and paste of the page, literally went copy and paste. So I know this isn't an example, but I just started at the bottom and left clicked and highlighted, and I put that into ChatGPT. And again, that premise, remember, is now we're on to E. So if we just do a quick recap, we have the role, we have the objective, we have the description, and then we have the example. And the example article here, as I said, was just trying to give ChatGPT a bit of a flavor for the tone and look and style. So we took that article, we copied, as you can see, a good length of content. And this is where I'm coming back to that idea of ChatGPT 4. Just be aware of the different versions in case you're getting cut off. But then we pasted that into ChatGPT, and that started to give us a real clear look at what the example was. Finally, the last thing I'd said here is, can you please confirm this task before starting to create the content? So at this stage, again, remember, we're now doing a sense check. We're asking ChatGPT to help us understand what do we actually want to get from ChatGPT. Is it understanding exactly what we've asked it to do? And at this stage, now you'll start to see how ChatGPT has understood the last question. Now, for most of you to do this, I'm going to shoot Bard in a second to see its response, and it straight away took off and started writing. ChatGPT in this instance actually held back, and it says, yes, I understand what you're trying to do. Natura Health, family focus, target market, nailed it. Content that I'm with Natura Health, and then obviously use that rule and brought that back in. So this is a really good way of me saying, okay, ChatGPT, yes, you did definitely understand what I was asking you to do. And so based on that, what I want to do is start exploring the strategy. I want to start seeing, what does AI see? What else is out on the market? You know, who's my competitors? Who am I effectively competing with here? And so at this stage, I then took a step further and went into AI. Now, this is where the first part of our strategy starts to develop into how are we actually using AI. So I see questions coming in, which is great. One of the things I'd love to do as well is see what AI platforms are you all using? Is there anyone that's particularly using one scenario? Is there someone using ChatGPT, Bard? Is there anyone using something else? Maybe they're using the Bing engine, which is just ChatGPT. So just to kind of throw it out there in the QA, if you wouldn't mind adding a comment, if you could, just to let me know what you're familiar with or what you're using at the moment. It'd be good just to get a bit of a layout. Now, while you're doing that, one of the things I want to encourage you to do is to explore other AI platforms, is to explore the different channels that are out there. So if we haven't already mentioned this, one of the things here you'll see I'm very maybe focused on today is ChatGPT. But one of the things that I want to encourage you to do is actually to explore other platforms, such as Bard, for example. So for those that have not used Bard yet, one of the things that I'd want you to do is to look at, if you haven't, try out Bard. So Bard is completely free. You just need a Google-based email account to use it. And what we would encourage you to do here is to set up Bard if you haven't already. Now, the reason why I'm asking you to set up Bard if you're already using ChatGPT, especially for those that might be paying for ChatGPT, and I see someone's come in and said they're using the free plan, so I'll definitely come back to that as well. So thanks for that. But what I want you to think about here is no matter what platform you're using, I want you to look and explore the market and explore different opportunities. A good example here is if I have time to develop my strategy, if I'm not under a bit of time pressure, I don't have someone sitting on my shoulder waiting on this content coming through, then what I've actually done here is I copied the entire prompt. So I took my prompt that I put into ChatGPT and I actually did the exact same thing and put it in Bard. Now I did trim it a little bit. Bard, like sometimes the free version on ChatGPT, can get a bit annoyed and can shout at you. So the first time, believe it or not, I actually pasted this in, I think it came back with a completely different response. It wasn't even close. So all I did is I took out some of the examples and just cut it short. But you'll see the rest of the prompt is exactly the same. So from here, what I was able to do is share ideas between different AI framework, different AI language models. ChatGPT and Bard are two completely different companies, and they use two different frameworks in terms of understanding how they generate their language, how they generate an understanding. So it's really good practice for you as well to also experiment with two different language models. Now, there are various other AI platforms you can use for content strategy, including Bard, ChatGPT, Claude, and just a few others to name an example. But what I would encourage you to do is to 100% to try and find out a good balance is to actually experiment with both. Set up your prompt on whatever platform of choice that you use, and then use the same prompt across different platforms. So you'll see in this scenario, as I said, we took our prompt that we set up on ChatGPT. We then pasted the exact same prompt into Bard, and Bard did come back. Now, it did go off a wee bit. It started getting into different ideas and it started coming up with plans, which is not a bad thing at all. So it maybe missed that last question in relation to, can you confirm you understand this? But most importantly, we can see here with Bard, it did give us a fresh set of ideas. It did come back with some suggestions around recipe-focused content, kitchen-related content, and then the different types of content, the different formats that it's going to start to recommend. So you'll see that we're not even just looking at creating a blog here now. We're looking at a strategy. We're looking at 2024. What are we doing for our business? If we're not sure where our business needs to be focused, I want you to think about going to ChatGPT with that question initially and start to look at the opportunities that ChatGPT can give you, just the fresh ideas. And that's the big thing with AI. I see it, and Profile Tree, our agency, see it as not a replacement, not a necessary kind of tool that's going to move you into a different location, but as a tool to support that blank canvas. It's going to give you ideas. And when you get up in the morning, you're trying to think of ideas, and it took you all morning to come up with one idea for a podcast. Well, you can see here within a couple of minutes, you can very quickly get some amazing ideas and then start to have that consultation, that one-to-one consultation with ChatGPT or with Bard on, okay, how do we develop podcasts for our business? How do we look at building a strategy around that area? So really what I want you to be doing is thinking about using this as a tool for your all-around strategy as well as content creation. But just coming back to what we wanted to talk about, and that was looking at that kind of prompt creation and using those different tools to your advantage. How can we take one AI tool like ChatGPT and Bard and actually compare their responses? And don't be afraid to actually copy and paste what Bard gives you, put it back into ChatGPT, and actually play the game a wee bit in terms of some of the responses that are there. So a really good idea is just to explore prompt engineering, explore the prompt facility even more. So we take that a step further and we look at content creation. Now, I mentioned already, most people, and I'm not sure if there's anyone else attending today who has used it for anything else too, but most users at the moment in AI are using it for content creation, creating blogs, creating content for social media, creating content simply for your website or any of your presences online. It's the most common use case we've seen for AI, but it's more than just content creation. We want to look at options around strategic platforming, insights, analysis, and even using an AI to look at the strategy. So one of the things we're going to look at now is how do we use AI in SEO? How do we use it for keyword research, for idea creation, analysis, and then optimization of our content? So how can AI now become the full funnel rather than just the entry point, and then you need to do the rest? It's trying to look at the bigger picture scenario. So when it comes to creating a keyword strategy and creating content, so if we kind of go back to what we were looking at before, And we take this scenario. So we started with the prompt. We wanted to look at some ideas, get a bit of a flavor for what we want to do with our blog and our website. ChatGPT came back and said it understood. We then went back and says, right, the first thing I want to do is try and understand the market. What is the competitor analysis at the moment, at least? And I can start to give it more detail. So remember, again, context is key. So I wanted to spend more time on this. I could have said, can you give me some examples within the UK, within a certain region, and start to break down what does ChatGPT know. I can then take those examples and start to look at some of those websites, which you'll see in my Blue Peter stunt. Here's a few examples we have open ahead of time. But I also could take that then to Bard, and I actually asked Bard the same question, exactly the same, copied and pasted. Can you give me some examples that fall within the same style and niche? And it actually gave me completely different websites too, as well as give me a description on each of those. So with those websites in hand, I was able to start seeing the type of content that I wanted to look for on my own website. I wanted to focus on healthy eating, nutrition, and stay around that kind of family meal planning. So with that in mind, I now want to start looking at the idea of keyword strategy and keyword research. So how can I now start to use AI to help me with that keyword research? So the first thing that I want you to do is to do a simple Google search. So if you're not already using this, for those that are not paying for the AI tools, or sorry, SEO tools, there is a fantastic tool called Keyword Surfer, which you'll see here on my screen. So I'm now just in Google Chrome. And if I search for anything in Google search, you'll see I get a few stats. So I get an idea. I'm based in the UK, so I've changed my settings for the UK audience. But at this stage with Keyword Surfer, so Keyword Surfer you'll see here, you can sign up completely for free and add this extension to your Google Chrome browser. Now, what this will allow me to do is see the volume of searches every month in the UK for these particular audience profiles. So what this allows me to do is to start understanding the different keywords that I can start to think about when it comes to my content. Now, at this stage, again, if we have more time in this webinar, we could start to go through and craft a very bespoke plan around each of these. But what I want you to be thinking about is looking at the facts and figures, looking at what people are searching for. So what we can see here is we have the likes of family dinners, family meals on a budget, budget family. We can see a lot of kind of around that kind of budget family meals. So what we can start to do is we can start to take that to our ChatGPT. We can go back to Bard, or sorry, ChatGPT, and we can say, I want to develop a content strategy and series of blog articles around the topic and keyword of, and that could be our family meals on a budget. And what we then can do here, as I said, if we had more time, is we could start to dress down the various related keywords, family meals at dinner, trying to do different ideas. And effectively what you're trying to do is build up a keyword strategy in terms of that funnel. What are the various other things you want to add in? Now, for those that haven't done much in SEO before, who are really just trying to dip their toes in the water, so to speak, Keyword Surfer is a great place to get started. It's an excellent opportunity to get in and understand how you can start to take some of these content ideas, copy those in, pop those into ChatGPT, as I said, and start to build out the content. So what this allows us to do is start to familiarize ourselves with building a bit of a strategy. We now know from above that ChatGPT and Bard have said, here's the key things you should look at. Here's some examples. In time, we've had a look at these websites. We can start to see that a lot of recipes and planning guides are all very popular and becoming very easy to read. So we want to take that. So what we're going to do then is we're going to ask it to develop a strategy and a series of blog articles all around family recipes for dinner, family dinner ideas, family meals on a budget, and really focus around those particular keywords. Now, again, excellent for those that are doing things like Keyword Surfer. For those that are looking something a little bit more advanced, then you start to have and move into tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs. And those tools allow you to really get a much better, more detailed look at search engine optimization, especially on keywords. So if we take, for example, the keyword family dinner ideas, in the UK, we can see that we get around 8,000 people a month searching for this keyword. So for those that haven't seen SEMrush before, I know this is a lot just to throw the screen at one time, but SEMrush allows us to see some of the facts and figures again, similar to Keyword Surfer, but with much more detail. So what we can see here on the left in blue is the keywords themselves. It's the exact spelling, the exact phrasing that you will see goes into Google search. So what is being typed in. We can see that we're currently looking at the UK database. So we're seeing what's coming up in the UK. And then we'll start to see some more interesting stats. Really, these two columns here are the ones that I want to draw your attention to, which is column 3 and column 4. So the first column here is volume, and that's looking at the average searches per month throughout the UK. Now, obviously, it is a yearly average, so this might have seasonal shifts and trends throughout the year. But naturally, we can see around 8,000 people a month are searching for family dinner ideas. Now, the challenge with that is actually the very next column, and that is KD percentage, and that is keyword difficulty score. And what that's looking at typically is the current top 10 results in Google search. How have they optimized their website? Do they have good authority? Do they have strong backlinks? Are they writing a lot of content? And how likely is it for you to kind of get into the top 10 for that keyword? In this case, it would be considered pretty hard to try and go for that keyword. So by using tools like SEMrush, we can actually start to get a bit more detail than what we would from Keyword Surfer. It allows us now actually to click on some of these keywords and actually start to see what we would call keyword variations or related keywords. And now you'll start to see if we start to look at more niche topics, cheap, easy dinner ideas for family. It's only 480 searches a month, but the difficulty now becomes a little bit less than hard, and we'll start to go down the list even further. And we start to really drill down into finding the easy, or what we would call the low-hanging keywords or the low-hanging fruit keywords, where you have searches here like easy chicken dinner ideas for family. And that's actually coming up with it's not recognized the difficulty score, meaning that actually it could be set as easy. It's not really been indexed by Google for that keyword just yet, although 70 people a month are searching for it. So the volume might seem high, but what you're looking for here is, can you grab as much of that low-hanging fruit, much of those easy keyword difficulty keywords, and start to build up the total base or the total volume. So that's just a little bit of a flavor, a sense check on how you can start to take some of the content around your keyword strategy and apply that to some of the tools that we're showing you here, like SEMrush and Ahrefs. But just to come back to AI and how we use AI for our keyword strategy, what we can start to do is copy and paste in a series of those keywords. So I'll just take a few more here as well. Just for example, family dinner ideas, UK. Probably got some of these already. Actually, I did. There it was. That was the, the one that was there. So easy family dinner ideas. We'll take a few more and just add in. What we can also do then is explore on this a wee bit and say, can you also suggest additional or related keywords to the topic above? Now, you'll notice here at this stage, I don't need to go into the same level of prompt engineering. Now, remember, ChatGPT is persistent. It understands what you've mentioned above, and it will carry that right through. So we want to be able to kind of take a lot of those elements, take some of the content that we've done already, and not have to rewrite it again. So by keeping this all in the same chat and not going and open up a new chat prompt, well, that's going to make life a little bit easier when it comes to continuing conversations. Now, from time to time, ChatGPT might forget what you've asked it to do. It might forget some of the keywords from above, but you want to just give it a little bit of a reminder. So we'll see here very simply, ChatGPT has already come back with a bit of an idea. It understands that the core strategy is around family meals on a budget. And now it's given me 10 article ideas that I can now start to promote on our website. This is expanding on the idea of simply using ChatGPT to create content. Again, to remind you that most cases people will go in, they will use ChatGPT to create one blog, move on to the next one, and then go, okay, start again. What I want you to do is to think about using ChatGPT to develop the strategy before you start on that blog. So in this scenario, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a good few articles there that we can see. Remember, it's 7 or 8 article examples that we can take. So if we just look at this, what we can now start to do is top 10 budget-friendly family dinner recipes. So that's great. So what we can now start to do is start to develop a piece of content strategy around this. We can also see that the additional or the following keywords were added from ChatGPT, and that's just looking at trends online. Now, this is a key part to note. At least at the moment, ChatGPT does not have any of the experience around the likes of SEMrush or Keyword Surfer. It is using trends, it's using patterns in search online. So it's just simply looking at volume. It can't actually work out the difficulty or the average monthly volume of a search result in a certain UK or American database. So keep that in mind. At least not at the moment. Should you be stopping to do your SEO research in Google, do it yourself, getting into SEMrush, get into those platforms. It's not there just yet. So we want to make sure that we're carrying out our own independent research, just like we've done, and then bringing that information back to ChatGPT to let it decipher. Likewise, if you took it a step further, you could actually take all of the content that's on SEMrush or some of these other platforms, paste it into ChatGPT and ask it to, can you review the best opportunity? So those are different steps and things that you can do. But for now, we're going to then take what we've done above. So based on the above, we now want to develop a blog for our website. and promote to attract affiliate links, as well as lead generation for, let's say, personal training coaching. Personal coaching training, that was good. Personal training, let's just do that for now. Excellent. Okay, so based on that, so the blog title is just going to be what we copied already. So top 10 budget-friendly family dinner recipes. I then want to explain, I want you to use the keywords listed above and your experience to develop a blog that captures the following. And from here, what again we're trying to do is give ChatGPT the description or the detail around what we're trying to explore. So what we can do on the back of this is we can start to go in and we can say, right, so the blog should be a minimum of 1,000 words. So 1,000 words minimum. From there, we then want to go in and say we want the blog to include a breakdown in headings and lists. And that's just good for our format. After lists, we want to look at potentially some FAQs. So can we add in some FAQs? And maybe if we can, even insert space or suggestions for adding internal links for video from YouTube. Now, at this point here, you might be wondering, okay, Stephen, where did you get that from? Where were those ideas? Well, what I want you to remember is, what does the ideal article look like? Now, you've already told ChatGPT before that this example, or you see the example I give it, so the copy and paste was what we were wanting to do. But you want to really pinpoint that detail back to ChatGPT, and you want to say that the ideal blog for me is around 1,000 words. It's got a breakdown in headings and structure. It's got a good list breakdown, so it uses numbered lists, bullet lists, as well as that it also included FAQs. So what I want you to do is to pinpoint some of that detail back to ChatGPT. Now, for the last section here, and sometimes it gets it right, sometimes it doesn't. What we want to do then is try and establish or understand suggestions from ChatGPT in terms of what about internal linking. So naturally, it sadly can't do internal linking for us, at least from ChatGPT's interface. You'd have to be connected to your website. You need to be looking at the content you already have. It doesn't know that at the moment, remember. So we want to try and help it at least suggest where could we put it some internal links, or potentially even some video or images from that platform. So for now, we're just going to hit enter. And while we're running on this, now again, I appreciate I've been doing this on ChatGPT and it's going to start writing, so it might not let me copy and paste it. But while you'll appreciate, obviously, we have this content, what I would want to do is actually now take that to Bard. And again, if we have more time, I'd want to sit down and go through the same steps with Bard effectively. Well, actually, let's just try it. So we can use the clipboard. We can copy that bit into Bard. We can drop a few lines down, go to ChatGPT. It's maybe still writing, so it might kick me down, but let's see. So, and we're still setting based on the above. So not see if that's going to work, but just while they're both running. And this is the workflow. This is typically what I would suggest that you do, is trying to go in. So you'll see here that ChatGPT has given us an outline. So what we want to do is now just give it a bit more reinforcement to say, can you now craft the article? And we can now start to use that a bit as a pillar for our content creation. Now, again, big part of content creation online, and some helpful tips around using AI for content is be very careful of 100% copied and pasted content. Now, one thing to note is, as you've been building this prompt, or this perfect prompt, what you've noticed is you have made a much more bespoke content flow. ChatGPT is now much more familiar with you. It knows about your business. It knows the style and language. So naturally, it will customize this content a lot more than if you just went in and said, write me a blog about this topic and use these keywords. But that being said, ChatGPT, remember, is a tool, and it's not something that you want to take as 100% copy and paste. My rule of thumb is somewhere around that 60-40, 80-20 split. 60% or 80% AI, and then 20 or 40% you coming in and adding in content. Naturally, there's going to be things that ChatGPT might not have nailed. So for one of those points is, it might not have mentioned my brand enough. So I maybe want to go back to it and give it some feedback. Again, this is an area where a lot of users go wrong when it comes to AI, as they're not actually going back to the tools. They're not going back in to make changes or draft or edit the content. So the big thing here is they take this, copy and paste it 100% and move it over to another platform. And then from there, they, well, effectively publish it on their website. What I want you to do is I want you to really look at this content look for gaps, look for opportunities, things that, if you were to pay a content writer, if you paid an agency to write this content, what are you going to accept? What's going to get past you to be published on your website? Are there areas where you look at this and go, well, it looks good, but I don't really see a strong call to action. It's not as strong as I wanted it to be. So give that feedback to ChatGPT, give that feedback in here and say, can you add in a section on a personalized meal planning session with me, Stephen Brown, the personal coach? And you'll see here, it will now start to address that content. It'll now start to kind of personalize a bit more. You'll see it even starts to make some changes. Now, again, I could go back and say, no, please don't rewrite the entire content based on this adjustment. I just want you to add a small section. The more detail, the more context you can craft around the use of ChatGPT and AI, the more you can start to blend that in to your content plan. Now, in relation to then Bard, you'll see Bard also then come back and it did a very similar article title. It went into those headings, it brought on a numbered list, and we can see here, it also added a bit of flavor to the content too. I'm really staying on topic here with some of these descriptions I'm using. But most importantly, you'll start to see how that content was all able to be pulled together. So that's just a bit of a scenario on how you can use AI to create a content strategy and starts to really go into defining content creation. I probably went a step further actually than some of my slides, so if I've stepped myself over here, you'll know why. But the idea behind this is trying to really explore on using AI as a tool and as a strategy to support your business, and not just a platform that you go into to quickly write a blog or quickly write a new bit of content. So when it comes to competitor research, which you'll see a level that I've already done here, what we want to try and do is use tools like ChatGPT and Bard to help us analyze our competitor sources. So if we're taking a look at the likes of our example websites, these are example sites, remember, that Bard provided us with. Bard provided us with an example. So what we might want to look at here is we could look at their categories on their website. Could we look at some of their pages? Now, the lazy way here is I could just go to the homepage and I can say, can you look at the homepage? But I specifically want to try and see, is there somewhere on these websites that's related to maybe recipes or budget-friendly meal planning? And if there is, well, that's where I want to go and target. For now, though, we'll just take this example here. So this is an example we've just found. So this is the Love and Lemons website. And what we can do is have a look at some of their pages. We can see they have a whole page on the cookbook, and that's obviously promoting their product. It's promoting their book, as well as some ideas. So possibly what we can do is take this example, and what we can go back to, and it might get messy now because I've already went on and asked it to write content. But what we can ask ChatGPT is to assess and analyze for keyword gaps or opportunities that we could look for improving on the content if we are using that as an example. So we can say that this is a competitor website page, and we're going to paste in the link. Can you review and provide keyword gaps or content opportunities that I can improve on for our site? Now, not always will ChatGPT come back with the right response. It would always come back with the right understanding of the brief. But what I want you to be thinking about is just trying to see if ChatGPT can analyze the site. Now, again, with ChatGPT 4 and some of the plugins, you will be able to use ChatGPT to analyze. And what you'll see here is that ChatGPT has now went off and done a Bing search on the Love and Lemons cookbook page. And it's now found a series of opportunities around different types of niches that I could focus on. So this particular website focuses on vegan and vegetarian, so we can look at that as a bit of an option. It's looked at the different types of meal types that are available, from that quick and weekday breakfast to one-pot soups. And then it's also looked at USPs, unique features. So based on this opportunity, it's now then come back with opportunities for me to take, and I can have a look at, okay, can we focus on a particular type? Let's say, for example, the family or kid-friendly recipes, emphasize that point across where there's a gap maybe that Love and Lemons has not really ventured into. So now you'll start to see very quickly how ChatGPT can be such a powerful tool for analysis. And again, if you haven't already guessed what I'm about to do, well, you want to take that to Bard as well. Pop that into Bard and see, can Bard also do a similar analysis? What does it come off with? Does it pull anything else from the site and give you other suggestions? You'll see here it's done exactly that. It's broken down more of a target market, more of a business competitor research, looking at kind of their tone, who they're targeting, what their platforms are. So you'll see the difference. It's noted here between our target market and general health and well-being. So again, just amazing opportunity for how AI should be used as your strategic guide, as well as how you obviously are using it for content creation. And that hopefully just lays in a wee bit more into ChatGPT 4, the benefit of ChatGPT 4 over 3.5 and why as a business, because I believe there was a question earlier on the free version, why ChatGPT 4 is going to be a little bit more comprehensive when it comes to those reviews. But that being said, before you sign up, this is why I want you to have a look at encouraging the different AI tools. Claude is another example that didn't have open today, but Claude, Claude, is by Anthropic, and it is another AI language model that you can use. So really what you can start to see as we close off our webinar for today is using AI not just for content creation, looking at for competitor research, looking at benchmarking. Can you use it to understand gaps? Is there areas that you can look at creating backlinks or looking at trying to develop your own platform? Again, it's more than just those tools. So some example prompts as well that can help you with competitor research are the likes of themes. So one of the big standard and pushes we've seen from Google over the last year in the SEO space is topical authority. Google is using backlinks. It's using its understanding to understand how important or how familiar are you with a particular topic. Domain authority is Google's big push. It's obviously how it rates and trusts a website. So if you're, especially like me, if you're in the health game and you're looking at natural holistic therapies, well, you need to have something that's going to back up some of the things that you're going to say, be it a particular recipe, supplement, ingredient, or exercise. Google is going to put a lot of stipulation on me more so than other businesses because I have a background here in health and safety, so I need to be careful of what I'm saying online is accurate. So a big thing here to help without backlinking, and we can talk about that too, is topical authority, trying to get Google to understand the topic that you're writing about, trying to make sure Google knows that you are an expert in this field. And that's why it's so important that if you are thinking about creating a new business, if you're thinking about developing your strategy online, or even expanding on your current business, you are thinking about getting that niche. If your business is a broad topic niche or a broad topic content, then with your strategy, try and start small, build in a particular niche, and own that space. Create as much content around that space as you can to become that topical authority and find themes to understand the competitional space. So again, just an example there of kind of create a list of common themes that we share with our competitor. Another thing that we can do is be very simple, and that's say, can you just analyze the competitor website, put in a link to their website, and then identify primary keywords that they're winning on. Now, again, this is not going to be using statistical tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs, but it's looking for keyword density. What it's going to do here, when you ask ChatGPT to analyze a competitor website, it's going to look at how many times was a particular keyword being used. When it comes then to profile analysis, you're again looking at how does the profile, how's the backlink strategy look online, and asking ChatGPT to come back with a series of examples. So these are just some examples in relation to using AI or ChatGPT for competitor research. Now, I've just seen a question come in there as well in relation to, will Google know if I'm using content from ChatGPT? This is something at the very start. If you spoke to me this time last year, February last year, I would have actually said, you look at the moment, AI is a little bit dangerous, and we'd probably say very careful. When I mentioned before about that 60-40, it probably would have been the completely opposite. It would have been closer to 60% human written. However, since Bard is released, and of course, Bard is a Google-based product, Google is actively supporting AI content. They are no longer saying AI content is going to be treated any worse. The challenge you have is AI content without good prompt engineering can feel clearly AI driven. First of all, you have the tone that AI likes to write in. AI loves to write an overly grandeur, glamorous style of content. For those that haven't seen this, you'll know when it happens. It loves to do very Americanized, cheesy descriptions you need to be careful of. So the more prompt engineering you can do, the more you can kind of pull away from that and create more of a much more professional tone. But one of the big things when it comes to using AI on your own website is, and it's very simple, is Google is looking for helpful content. Is your content actually helping the end user? Is it structured in the right way that's going to make it easy to read? Is it getting to the point of the title or the blog? And most importantly, are you giving the user a direction? Are you signposting? If the blog is just you talking about a topic and you're not giving an answer, you're not sending them to a page, you're not sending them to a service that you can provide, then immediately Google knows that that content is not helpful. And so as much as it is a bit of a cliche answer for AI, is should you use it or not, it's all about helpful content. And if you do any searches online for Google helpful content update, you will see all of the parameters that Google's looking for. And that does come back to things like your backlink analysis. How are you thinking about that credible source I mentioned before. So are you creating backlinks to your website that cite you as a reference, as someone who's helping people in this field? Are you also connecting what we call your Google entities, which Kieran has mentioned in our previous webinar? And that's looking at how are you actually using Google to its full potential. And again, I suppose AI, when it comes to your social media channels, your Google My Business profile, your website, are you connecting all those dots together and being as helpful as possible online? So 100% AI content is completely and very safe at the moment, but you do need to do your due diligence. You need to check what you're writing. If you're a UK focused brand, ChatGPT, remember, puts Americanized spelling, so you need to change that. You would have seen that already in my content. So make sure you're really trying to clean that content. Please do not go and write a whole blog, copy and paste the entire thing, paste it in and leave it. You will be missing internal links. You'll be missing structure. You'll be missing calls to action. It will be missing key elements that are seen as helpful content. So it's really important you're keeping in mind that 60-40, 80-20, whatever one you go for is up to you, but you're keeping that you still have to do at least 20% editing before it's suitable to be published. Just keep that in mind when it comes to the content approach. And then just as we start to close up, we want to look obviously at that AI content strategy that we mentioned. So again, you're looking at how do we create the content. This is the bit that I knew I was going to skip or already go over. So AI content planning, again, just like we spoke about before, can you ask ChatGPT to help you with that plan? Again, not just straight away, write me a 1,000-word blog on topic A. Let ChatGPT come up with a series of topical authority points. Can you give me a list of topic ideas? Then start to channel that down. So if you're really focused on SEO, for example, you might want to go from topical ideas to then go down to, okay, give me SEO headings, give me meta titles, give me meta descriptions before you start to write that entire article. And again, we're trying to establish here is what is the right content that we want to group on? What's the right content we want to focus on? AI is one of the best tools for resource limited, and that's why we want to try and focus on driving that down and to helping you fill those gaps in your business. So then we have again outline the content. So similar to what we've done there, we've asked ChatGPT to understand, do you understand what we want you to do? Could you maybe give me an outline for what that content's going to look like and the key points that I should cover before finally looking at user interaction? So again, think of helpful content. What's the big thing that comes up in Google search? When you search for something like family meals, what you'll typically find is Google has a list of people also ask. This is where you're trying to find that helpful content. You're looking for FAQs. And by putting FAQs at the bottom of your article, you're hoping that you can get the answer to those questions to become helpful, that Google will then trust you and put you as the #1 site in those positions. So you can see how it all ties back to your strategy over, are you, first of all, addressing a challenge or a problem through a blog? Are you answering the question that the blog has developed? And then are you supporting the responses? And that's how you really start to develop that in together. And then just as we close off and we end our webinar for today, you can also look at the tone of voice. You can train ChatGPT, you can train Bard into reflecting the right tone, the right context for your website, for your social media. And although I've been quite biased today and I focus very much on the Natura Health website, I want you to apply this same logic. Everything that we've done today, from the prompt engineering to the keyword analysis to the keyword or the competitor analysis, I want you to kind of take all those steps and apply those to whatever type of marketing that you're doing, be it email marketing, pay-per-click marketing, social media marketing, website content development, or even traditional paper-based marketing. We want to apply that level to the entire breadth of your business. So by integrating tools like AI into your strategy, you can start to create those personalized responses. So when we look at customer experience, what we're thinking about there is the voice and style of communication and in customization. How are you obviously, positioning your content on your website, looking at the tone of voice? You can ask ChatGPT to write in a more comedic tone. You can ask ChatGPT to write in a more family-friendly tone. One of the key tip that I would have for you is anyone who's getting frustrated by ChatGPT coming back with, I don't know how to define it, but overly descriptive terms, very Americanized, maybe cheesy at times. Well, there's an actual keyword that ChatGPT, not an SEO keyword, but there's a key term that ChatGPT is familiar with, and it's called grandeur. Simply ask ChatGPT to use less grandeur, and that will help actually tone it down and make it a bit more professional. But when you're putting your description together, and I know it's going back now and you've all maybe forgotten this far back, but when you're putting the tone and you're putting the detail in the description, don't be afraid to say, this is the tone of our business, this is how we communicate, this is how we want to respond in order to help with that customer experience. And that's that funnel you need to be thinking of. It's foot in the door. You're trying to get footfall onto your website from SEO. So you're trying to write for Google initially. And then you're trying to write for the customer. You're trying to write for the user experience, the customer experience. How are they journeying through your site? And the last thing then there in relation to customer experience is interaction feedback. You can use ChatGPT as a tool for giving you feedback on your business. You can ask it to review your contact us page, copy and paste your entire services page and say, can you review this page and give me feedback on room for improvement? ChatGPT might not be able to give you the design feedback, or at least as much of that at the moment. And I assure you that is coming very soon with ChatGPT 5. But big thing here is trying to use that for interaction analysis and see all those tools. So hopefully you have picked up a few points from today. I really hope you've enjoyed this webinar. I thoroughly have enjoyed going through it with you. But if you do have any questions, I hopefully covered everything that was answered. I'll just see a few questions. So again, ChatGPT, the free version versus the paid version. I personally would say, look, paid version every day of the week is definitely the way to go. But do have a wee look at the different platforms, play around with experiences about what works best for you. And then we answered the question on Google know if I'm using ChatGPT. And then is there anything you shouldn't do when it comes to ChatGPT? It's a very big question. It's a hard one. Again, it depends on where you're looking at there. From a security and privacy standpoint, we wouldn't recommend putting in personal or confidential information. ChatGPT 3.5, OpenAI, the developers behind it, have openly said that they use 3.5 for market research and for product improvements. They have said that a lot of the data goes into a database, not saying they're reading everything, but there is a slim chance that confidential could be dangerous being put into 3.5 at least. And then ChatGPT 4 is more isolated to your own account. However, that being said, I still would not be putting anything confidential or anything personal that gives away personal identity about yourself into ChatGPT. But that being said, it is something that should be used as a tool, remember, and not as a complete replacement for an entity or a topic. If you have any other questions, do let us know. I know some of the other webinars are in place at the moment, so people will be jumping onto those. But as I said, thank you for your time today. And if you have any other questions, you can connect with us on our social channels or on LinkedIn. And we look forward to speaking to you again very soon. Thanks now. Bye.